and welcome to Tetewatha, Partyline Talk Show. I'm your host, Luann Stacy, and over the next 2 days, we're going to be joined by the candidates who are nominated for the upcoming by-election. And today we'll be visited by three candidates. Keith, I also would like to introduce my co-host for the next two shows, Arlene Jacobs. Welcome. I'm looking forward to this. Watch out, world.
Thank you, Luann.
Watch out, world. We will never be the same on the talk show. So I guess we may as well get right into the questions. And I guess the very first thing, which I think will be helpful for our listeners, is could you just do a little bit of an intro of who you are? Because there are several Cody Diabos.
Yes, there
so
are
let's
quite
clarify which one you are.
I'm Cody Diabo. My mother is Donna Lahash. My father is Rodney Diabo. My mother's parents were Marie Lahash and Ronnie Lahash. My father's parents are Maggie and Joe Diabo on the farm. Let's see, I was probably be more known for being a peacekeeper during my early to mid 20s. In the last 3 years, I've been at the Cattery Hospital at the security desk on the inpatient side. People probably seen me there.
Okay, thank you. Arlene?
Next question. Okay, Cody, why are you running for this position in the by-election?
Well, I ran in the last by-election in February, I believe it was, because I want to see more of a change in Kahnawake. I want to see us more moving towards a more self-sustainability and kind of trying to combat, the climate change. We've seen a lot of the movements in the recent days, the big march in Montreal a couple weeks ago. So I feel, even just as a people, we should try to start moving towards a more self-sustainability, producing our own food, doing our own energy. We're always having conflicts with Canada and Quebec. I think it's time now we start moving really towards, I don't want to say separation, but doing our own thing now and not relying so much on outside help.
Okay. In your opinion, what are the main issues in our community that we're facing today? And go from there. It's a three-parter.
Okay. One of the main issues I've always seen, and especially since in recent events, was maybe a lack of, not necessarily jobs, because we've just seen there's been a whole bunch of postings on the commercial just before here, but jobs that maybe other people may be more interested in or have like a purpose with the job, with jobs with benefits. There's always jobs out there, but people don't get the vacation, the sick days, pension. I started as a peacekeeper early on. I've seen the importance of building a pension and having it for when retirement finally does come. And I feel that's something that we're kind of lacking. So the initiatives that I plan to try to start if I get elected, that would be a lot of jobs like that. People have the benefits for it. Sometimes, people are working day to day, week, paycheck to paycheck. If they take off, they don't get paid. It's nice to have that security. Even myself with my recent foot injury, I said I was able to use vacation, sick days. I can go on medical leave if I choose. It helps. It makes, the stress at home less without having the financial burden.
Are there other issues besides that one?
There are many issues.
Just name a couple.
Well, there's always the issue of drugs in Kahnawake. I feel that's like a lack of, I keep saying a lot, not having things to do. Like a lot of the youth there, it's even when I was growing up, there wasn't a lot for us to do. I mean, they have the youth center, they have drop-ins, they opened up the skate park, but that's, things some people aren't really into. There was the drama club. It's not really running right now. I think we need to start getting programs like that to prevent youth from getting into drugs. Some can get in and then get out. Some, it's a lifelong battle for them. And just in general now, I guess it would be just the economy itself in Kahnawake, and we're trying different things to boost our economy. Some things are failing. I mean, we were putting a lot of energy into the cannabis, and that seems to kind of stalled, and it's not really going anywhere.
Okay, Cody, what are your goals should you be a successful candidate, and how will you achieve them?
Well, my goals would be to try to get these initiatives that I wanted off and running, and not just, in a planning phase, to start working on that right away, to start getting people out there working, and then in that sense combating unemployment, getting people right out of high school maybe to get into those kind of jobs, start preparing them for those kind of jobs. Because it's not just cut and dry. If we get our own electrical grid, you're going to need specialized jobs, specialized equipment, people to operate that. That would be something people can now start looking into going, getting the training for it while we're still working on it. Farming, same thing. You need to know what you're doing. You can't just put a seed in the ground and expect it's going to grow. You need to nourish it. You need to check on it. All that requires specialized training in a sense, and that, a lot of kids come out of high school. I was a fortunate one. I kind of knew where I wanted to go at that point. I went to college for Police Foundation, so I knew my general path, but there's a lot of people who don't know, and that's fine. You don't know what you want to do. You're 16, 17. Who knows what you want to be in 10 years? You might have a career change, but this is something that actually pushes you to go do something and continue learning, and like I said, get you off the street and keep you out of trouble.
Okay, what is your knowledge about the KKL?
KKL. That's the acronym for
Kahnawake Kinyakahagala.
Oh, sorry.
No, we
did it on purpose. We're testing you.
No. Well, I know there's been a lot of initiatives with trying to reboot our language back. I think it's very important. I myself, I went to school outside of Montreal. I went to college in Ottawa. I only had it in elementary school, and that was at Cattery. And we were in a new program where they were more pushing French. So we had, I think, French 8 hours a week. And Mohawk, I think it was only an hour and a half. So I didn't really pick up my language a lot, and there was always a part of you that's kind of missing in that sense. You feel like a longing, or like you don't kind of belong in a sense. So I tried to pick it up on our culture avenue and traditions. But with the language, like now that they have the language nest, they have the Radiwanirats, I think that's a lot of great movements to try to bring it back. And I think it's really important to try to incorporate it too within jobs in Kahnawake who have not necessarily you have to speak it in order to get the job, but try to push it within the jobs to do it. And not so much, because of our area, it's all French. So, a lot of businesses are trying to push speaking French, but I think at the same time, people are coming here to do business. They should kind of learn, our language or our ways in a sense. When you go to Europe or something, or Italy, Mexico, you don't expect everybody to be speaking English. You kind of have to pick up their language. So it should be similar over here, and we should be pushing that even more.
What's your knowledge on S3 legislation?
Well, the S3, that's, we're going to be getting 60,000 or so people added to our registry. I don't agree with that per se. I think that, Canada's trying to blanket it by saying, okay, now all is forgiven, but that's even going to cause a even greater heap of problems. Now, where are we going to fit 60,000 extra people here? We barely have enough for the maybe 8,000 that we have, it just brings in a whole thing of, now these people have no connections. Are people just going to come here to try to take our treaty rights, or what we've been granted, our rights? Or are they going to... Yeah, it's a sticky situation, and I don't necessarily agree with it. I think we need to keep fighting it in that sense. I keep trying to get brushed up on it as much as I can, but I know Gus is on the forefront with that, trying to fight back as much as she can. But it's always a battle between us and the federal and provincial governments. I think we need to try to take it further, even to the UN. I know we've taken issues to the UN before, but again, what legal binding does the UN necessarily have over Canada?
Yeah. One last thing, residency law. What's your knowledge on that?
The residency law, I agree. That's something that's been one of our problems also, we mentioned before, that's been going on for decades, even before I was born. Non-natives living here, the marry out, get out kind of law that was going around. You can't necessarily say kick people out just because of well, I'm not saying necessarily kick people out, but there are human rights along with that. I think we need to tread carefully on that. There's been lawsuits that happened because of initiatives that were taken. That's something I think we have to really tread carefully on. Again, it goes back down to, we only have so much, so we have to kind of not protect what we have, but we have to be cautious with what we do with it or what goes on with it.
Have you read the residency law?
I didn't brush up on it. I would know last year when they were coming out with it and all that, I didn't end up brushing up on it. It's something I need to brush up on, especially if I get elected. I need to kind of know what's going on around the board. You need to, in a sense, be a handyman. You need to have your hand in everything, what's going on in town. But I was more focusing on like getting in with my initiatives there and trying to get that moving. Coming in this late, there's already people who are on board with that. So to get on and get brushed up, you're not necessarily holding them back from doing what they were doing. But
Okay, what do you think about our community becoming involved in the cannabis industry?
I'm not 100% for it. I understand, we need sources of revenue. I'm just worried that, all of a sudden Canada says it's legal and now we're jumping on board saying, let's do it. In 10 years, if Canada says another substance is legal, are we going to jump on board and say, let's do that just because it's legal? We were always supposed to be a zero tolerance. Then we have the alcohol that came in, and it's where does it end necessarily? Cannabis is legal this year, and nothing's really been going on with it. If we're going to get it, I do feel that it should be controlled and it should be monitored and there should be guidelines. I don't think just anybody should open up one to sell. I think there needs to be strict policies with it. I know a lot of people are really hesitant when council tries to take the reins on something, but there needs to be some sort of procedures involved in that business because we need to make sure exactly how much money's coming in from it, where it's going.
The relationship between the MCK and the Longhouses has been strained. Do you think it's important for the two entities to work together?
Oh, it's very important. You can't have a shattered foundation and build on it. Excuse me. It's like back in the American Civil War. Abraham Lincoln said it too. A house. It was basically like that. You can't have a broken foundation and expect to build upon it. That's why they had the Civil War between the North and the South. Yeah. They had conflicting ideals. They had a war to settle it. I mean, that's, not saying what should happen here, but I'm saying we need to try to work together.
So besides war, how would you like them to work together?
Well, I mean, it's always a hard thing, I guess, to come sit down together. The Mohawk Council's always had like a negative outlook from traditionalists, and it's more or less a system that they feel was imposed on us by federal government. But at this point, it's the system that's they recognize. Will it be that system forever? If we become more self-sustainable and we can do our own thing, that's something that is foreseeable. I think once we begin doing our own thing. And once we can kind of take care of ourselves economically and all that. But, it definitely needs to get a better relation. I mean, I think it's been a little bit improved in the years since maybe like 90 and all that. I was younger, so I don't, I remember there always being some sort of tension back then. But, it's more or less like the mentality I find now. It's like you do your thing and we'll do our thing.
Okay, do you attend community meetings?
I would like to. My current job at the hospital, it's usually hard because they usually fall under my 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. shift. So I usually always miss it, or I end up having to come in at 11 p.m. So it's like I don't know how long the meetings will run. So I always try to see when there's an available meeting, and it just so happens I usually always end up on that 3 to 11 shift. So I can never really make it out there to see what's people's concern and all that.
Okay. What about the community decision-making process? Have you ever been to any one of those?
No.
Lawmaking process?
No, I haven't.
For the community?
No, I haven't been to any one of those as well.
How are you involved in the community?
well, at first when I was a peacekeeper, I always tried to be out there. I always tried to make appearances at schools. I always tried to have a presence out there to show that, I'm out there, to try to, give tickets to reduce speeding, to reduce traffic infractions. For a while there, I was just popping in at survival school. There was issues going on over there, so I always tried to make it a point to go there during the lunch hours, just to, sit and talk with the students there, see what's going on, how things are there. Again, now with my current job, the shift work is really hard to kind of get out there. I did volunteer for the tree planting initiative there. So recently I've been trying to get more out there to be visible and just to see on the ground level. I can only look at it from so far, like what my perspective of issues are, but you don't know until you're actually there talking with people.
Excuse me, is there anything else you'd like to add? We're at the end of our questions now.
I just, want to encourage people to go out there to vote. I know, again, we said there's always a struggle between the Longhouse and the band council, and people don't believe in the band council system. But my idea on that is it's a system that we have in place right now. So voting and not voting, you're necessarily just kind of settling. At least if you go out and put your name, vote for somebody that you feel is going to strive to make a change, is better than just not voting and sitting back and waiting to see what kind of happens. So I just encourage people to go out there. It's a quick process. Doesn't mean that you're turning your back on things. It's just you want to go out there and you want to make a change also in your community.
Well, I thank you, Cody, for joining us for this little bit of time. Good luck at the elections, and we'll take a break and we'll be right back.